Hi, Ashby here again with the last video of week 1. We're going to be talking about some more functions. In this case, set timeout and set interval. Let's go to our browser real quick. Here we have our a list of some intrinsic built-in JavaScript functions. Not a list of all of them, just some of them. Alert, you're well aware of, as well as console log. Two we're going to be talking about today in this video are set timeout and set interval. So let's talk about timer functions in general. Set interval and set timeout are both timer functions. So timer functions count a specified amount of time, like a stopwatch, and the unit of measurement we use in timer functions is milliseconds. So 1 second equals 1,000 millisecond. You'll see how that math is directly applied to our timer functions in a bit. So let's comment out these notes. They'll be provided for you in the link to the GitHub branch for 1.2 right underneath this video. Let's look at set interval and set timeout. Just a little bit of information about them. They each accept 2 parameters. The first parameter is the code, what to do, typically a function. The second is a when to do it, which is a number, a integer, our unit of measurement, which is milliseconds. And with our parameters, we always separate parameters with a comma, whether it's 2 parameters or 5 parameters, or God forbid, 25 parameters. Don't have a function with 25 parameters, please. And if you do, email me and show it to me, actually. I'd be kind of curious what that does. So let's go back to our code. I'm going to write it out real quick. Let's see. Nope. Oh, if you notice, and I apologize for this, I'm kind of a crazy typer and I make a lot of mistakes as I type. It eventually ends up being correct. But it's just something I haven't been able to master. For instance, if you notice, I always, for some reason, when I type out set interval, I always accidentally capitalize that M. You'll notice strange little quirks as you code as well. So we have set timeout and set interval. We have 2 different parameters. Let's just look at how we can include these parameters. Typically, we would include a function, and then there's our comma to separate our parameters. We would include our unit of measurement, our delay here, which would be 3,000, which is 3 seconds. Okay, so that's one way to write it. Another way would be to directly include the function right here, and which we would write our JavaScript code. And then we would include our comma here and put in our unit of measurement, which is our milliseconds, 3 seconds. One other way to write it, which we will be using in our example, because it's the simplest way, is to put our function right here directly into commas, and then enter our milliseconds like that. 3 different ways. Typically it's done this way, or it's done this way. This method isn't used too often, but it's really great for this demo. And you're already familiar with console log, and this might be something that you can do in a few weeks. So we're going to comment this out right now. And we're going to look at our set timeout. So let's just open up our inspector right here so we can see it in action. Let's go to our console and let's reload the page. 1 1000, 2 1000, 3 1000. Hello. That's an example of a set timeout, right? Now we have a set interval. So, okay, what's going to be the difference between our two functions, right? It's pretty simple. Set timeout calls the code once, and set interval calls the code multiple times indefinitely. So it's undefined, it'll just keep on happening and happening and happening. Let's go back over here, and let's just see what happens when we do this in both our set timeout and our set interval. Let's just name these right here to the actual function names, so it's a little bit more clear. Okay, so we have our set timeout at 3 seconds and our set interval also at 3 seconds. There we have our set timeout and our set interval both clocking in at 3 seconds, and then you'll notice our set interval continues to console log again and again and again ad infinitum. Yeah, that's basically it. You know, we can reduce our set intervals. Could happen once every second. We can even be crazy and reduce it even further. Or we can make it take a really, really long time, which we probably won't see. I don't know. Is this like 3 days for the timer? I'm not exactly sure. So another thing we could do is, we could just have, let's set a variable real quick. Let's set I to an integer of 0, and right here let's write in I plus plus, and let's console log our I. So now we're actually going to count the seconds, right? We're at every 1,000 milliseconds, we're going to increment I by 1, and then we're going to console log the result of I. So let's check this out. Alright, so that's a good example of what happens when you do not have a semicolon. Things can break for no apparent reason, and it won't even show you a error log. That's one of the fun things about JavaScript, is, you'll write a lot of things and you'll miss a semicolon somewhere, some random place in your function, and your code won't work, and you'll have to just look. You'll just have to look for where you missed that semicolon. It happens to new developers, and it happens to really experienced developers as well. Okay, so yeah, I will link to this code again in GitHub in the 1.2 branch, and thanks again. Good luck on your assignments. Just email me if you have any questions, and I will do my best to answer them. And yeah, have a great rest of your week, and talk to you soon.